Howdy, folks. So we finally have a low wind day after a series of very blustery days, so I'm going to make that joke while the wind's blowing. And let's go on a final walkthrough. So we have made a ton of progress. I've got a couple of breakers left to install and a few lights, but I'm going to go ahead and schedule the electrical inspection now. We have finally hit that milestone, and we're going to take a quick walkthrough to see where we are, maybe make a mental talking list of things that I need to clean up. That wire is one of them. That's no longer used. I had an emergency shutoff switch for the solar over here, but they wanted us to add one for the main power as well. The only thing I'm showing here is an external junction box, weather-tight box, that I mounted underneath the house for future expansion. We've got some solar lights up here on the railing. This railing is nothing special, but we like it. But the solar lights are garbage, and they're in the shade most of the day, so they're not very bright. So I'm going to be replacing those, and this will give me some exterior power for that. Got this outlet installed with the one-in-use cover on it, weather-rated outlet, and I also have wiring for 2 sconces and for the doorbell. Those are all live and working. We've got our exterior shutoff, and I have moved the ground over to it. The bonding is in that, so the service disconnect, service entrance is where the bonding is supposed to happen. Then everything else grounds down to that, and that's what I have here. So I've got this bonded up, and there's also an emergency shutoff for the solar. Solar on the roof has an extra ground wire that I added to it, so it's independently grounded. I had originally put the grounding on the conduit, and that's no longer allowed. It was allowed, and I missed the change. It's no longer allowed. I do have in the upper portions of the porch a network PoE camera cable pulled and a floodlight on that corner. There will also be a matching flood on this side, on this corner, and a matching camera on that side. But as you can see, I have to put the pieces of my soffit in place before I can do that. So that's going to be a job for today if I can manage it. Let's come in the house. And I have the heater running, so I'm just going to shut that off quickly. I don't know how much that's messing up the video, but I'm going to assume non-zero. And let's look at the mess. So this is what you get when you're in a hurry, and I am going to have to clean this up before the inspector gets here. But you can see I've got the back of that outlet in place. So that was the outlet on the porch. I've got a mudroom outlet over here. And if I turn to look at the other direction, I've got all the rest of the mudroom wiring here, as well as lights and a smoke box. The one thing that I did notice is that I don't know what I was thinking. I pulled way more cable than I needed to here, ended up with a big loop in the wall, so I'm going to have to pull that down and staple it off once or twice. Didn't mean to have a service loop, but I got one. So I don't feel like remaking any of the wiring. I'm just going to leave that as it is and just staple this wire down. Coming into the kitchen here, we've got a peninsula outlet installed, as well as, if I can get a better view from this direction here, as well as a lot going on in this wall. So I've got a couple of 3-ways here, one for the mudroom, one for the kitchen lights, as well as one dedicated light switch that controls lights that will be above the peninsula. So I only put 1 box in, even though a lot of pendants will have 3, because you hang it from the one and then they branch out with some type of spreader bar. All the rest of the kitchen wiring is done. And if I just step back here, I'll explain kind of what we got going on. We have 6 circuits in this kitchen. Code says now you must have 2 small appliance branch circuits. So we have one that comes down and feeds the outlets this way, another that comes down and feeds the outlets that direction. We have a dedicated outlet for the microwave, although I did steal it for the stove. The stove is going to be a gas stove, so it's just running ignition and its clock. It only takes probably 10 watts. So they can easily share one circuit, and that will be a 20 amp. I also have a 20 amp to the fridge, and although I didn't put a 20 amp outlet on it because it's just insanely overkill, I ran cable to support a 20 amp for the dishwasher and garbage disposal if I need it. We're not planning on doing that, but you know, code makes recommendations, you follow them. So the one last thing is that the NEC now does not allow you to have the kitchen lighting on any of the small appliance branch circuits, and I didn't want to put it on the fridge or dishwasher. That would have been weird. So the lights have a 6th circuit. And the lights, because they don't need a 6th circuit to control 4 lights, also feed the dining room, which are behind me, and I'm not going to shake the camera around to show, as well as the stairway. Coming into the great room, In the back corner here, a little hard to see with all the junk I got piled up, but we've got a couple of outlet boxes prepped. One will be for an eventual gas fireplace insert, just to run its ignition and maybe a blower. And the other will be a mantle outlet so that we can plug in like holiday decorations and lights and things like that and have a nice place to plug those in. Also a good place to plug in a TV. And we also have a couple of switches over here to control some of this stuff. So, just wanted to make it a little easier to set up what we've got going on. So the switches control two different things. One controls the upper outlet there. One controls the lower outlet here. So we can turn on off the fireplace and also any holiday lighting just from one switch. All the rest of the outlets in this room are done, as well as, I apologize for shaking the camera so much, a smoke box up on the wall, and all the lighting up in the ceiling above me, including a fan box, 75-pound rated fan box, and the collar ties are all in place. So that's where the ceiling's going to go for the cathedral ceiling here. It won't be quite up to a peak. It'll come down and do everything else. Let's just shoot upstairs really briefly. I've been fire foaming all my penetrations, way more than is actually necessary, but I have the cans. What am I going to do with it? It's $8 a can, might as well. So I've got all the wiring done in here. The feeds come up this direction, and I've got two separate feeds. One feeds a couple of outlets over here and in this section, and also a three-way switch controls the lights down to the stairway. And the little hidden outlet that's back here in this nook is going to be for decorations. If, again, holiday lighting, stuff along those lines. I thought this would be a nice ledge to have above the kitchen, be able to put spider plants and holiday garland and things along those lines. There is an outlet box here in the storage area that controls two lights in the storage area. There is a switch behind me that will control lights above my head here. I am missing a few of them and need to install two more, but I was out of wire. So now I have that wire. I'm going to be buttoning that up today. There's also a smoke box up here, and you can see I got a duplex switch box here to control lighting for what might eventually become some back rooms here. Haven't decided what we're going to do with it. For right now, it's just storage, but we're up to code if we wanted to add a bedroom or something up here. This also happens to be right above the master bath. This would be a wet wall, so we could alternately put a bathroom in here, but we'd have to add a feed line for that because bathrooms need their own circuit. So coming downstairs, my office is now done. Outlets, a light and a ceiling fan wired in there. For all my ceiling fans, we've decided that, actually, I'm sorry, I changed my mind in this room and decided not to do it here. But for all of our other ceiling fans, we'll be using these all-in-one control switches. So you can dim, you've got to make sure your fan is rated for this, by the way. Some fans do not like to be on dimmers, but you can slow down and speed up your fan and your light just from this one control panel here, and it fits in a single gang. So obviously we can't use this trim ring around it, but it fits a Luton style faceplate, so we can have some traditional switches. They do sell Luton faceplates where you've got the big rectangle and then the smaller traditional switches. Why'd we go with these? Before you ask, we just like them. My wife and I both grew up with this switch style, and it's very inexpensive. So, we did have a lot of switches in the house, so that was cost effective, and we just like them. I mean, they're easy, they're tactile, you can definitely feel where something is, and I don't know, the whole paddle thing feels like a hotel to me. I know some people like them, just not for us. There's a PoE line here. I will be pulling a PoE line here as well for a home automation system. Might have mentioned that in my last video, but that's a future task. It's a very low priority and not required for the inspection. So I can call for the inspection and be buttoning some of this other stuff, including cleaning up the house. You're going to see a lot of Romex ends because I was doing a lot of wiring over the weekend. What we got going on over here is a thermostat wire kind of coiled up, so we have a little bit of a loop there so we can pull the thermostat where its final location will be. That is the thermostat we're going to use, but it'll live right there. And then there's a carbon monoxide detector that's actually going to move and live down on the wall of the hallway. We're going to have a horizontal furnace under our feet, and that is required by the manufacturer's instructions, and you're required to follow the manufacturer's instructions, so I'm putting it in. And we will also have some other air quality sensors that live on that wall. So that will be like, it's kind of central in the house. The return for the furnace will be right down here and go down in this direction into the furnace. So the idea behind that, in my mind, is just that a lot of air will be moving through this area generally, and it's a good place for an air quality sensor. Coming down the hallway, we've got a couple of switches going on here. So there's a switch that will control a light that's under the stairs here. This will be like a little doggy haven. This area under the stairs will be where the dogs live at night. They're both crate trained, and it'll be like a little haven for them. And that switch will control hallway lights that are above our head here. Guest bath is all wired. It's on its own circuit. It's got a 20 amp outlet over the vanity, which is required by code now. Ridiculous for something you're never going to use, but there it is. And we have our ceiling fan for our exhaust fan mounted, and that's one of those fan light combos. So I set it up here, so we do have a vanity light, but we now have a triple box. I had a double there in earlier videos, and I upgraded that so that I was able to put the vanity on one switch, the overhead lighting on one switch, and the fan on a final switch. Another change that happened down here in the utility room, let me go ahead and turn this on, is that I've made up the panel. And look at the mess making up a panel makes. So I've got to come clean up my stuff here. But if I can get a good view of this, which I'm guessing I can't because it's just so tall, I have changed our panel out to a 30 space. I was right at the limit of the 20. I could have made it work. It would have been code compliant, and I always would have regretted it because from then on, it's just so much work to expand once all your wires are landed. So everything is all made up in the panel. I've got all my breakers except 3. So I do have 2 circuits left to put in here, and I just ran out of breakers because I forgot I had been using some temporary ones, just some cheapies, and I needed to upgrade those. So these are all AFCI, the combination AFCI, GFCI breakers. So all the purple ones here do both functions. The one little lonely yellow one there is for the outside. And the reason that that is set up on just a GFCI is that it needs... I need a place where I can plug in my tools, and AFCIs do not love brushed motors. So my chop saw and my table saw trip the AFCIs. But you are not required to have AFCI on exterior or crawl space outlets. So the furnace will be on a GFCI. That's the bottom breaker here. And the outdoor outlets will be on just a GFCI as well, although I'll be changing that from a 15 to a 20 because why not do it now? That's 12 gauge wiring, so I put 20 amp outlets in outside, one on each side of the house. So that'll be a nice thing that I can plug tools into, yard tools, woodworking tools, and things like that. If you're wondering what these last 2 lonely breakers here down on the right are, they are to drive this SPD. So this SPD here is whole house protection, and lets me, have a little assurance that, it's lightning protection for the house. And then there is also a companion SPD on the DC side of the solar input. So the solar has its own independent protection there, and that drives that. So I think that's it for talking through the utility room. We'll just go back into the master and look at a couple of last details. The master bed and bath are now separated. In an earlier video, I had them tied together, which was a no-no. But otherwise, this master bath is fully wired. It's got switches in here, similar to the guest bath for the vanity, overhead lights, and fan. Both toilets will have outlets for the bidets. 20 amp receptacles on the counter. This one has 2, one here and one here, because we're going to have a 6-foot long vanity. You can see basically the vanity will be this entire section here on the other side of the shower. So plenty of room for storage. The one thing that I did wire, or almost wired, is that's the heat wire I'm going to be installing. The Schluter membrane did not arrive from Amazon in time for my trip down here, so I was not able to install that. But that's okay. It's kind of an accessory. The inspector doesn't necessarily need to see that. But what I did do is run a piece of conduit down with proper bushings and everything on the end for abrasion. And that will be how the wire gets from the thermostat above it down into the floor. And then you cut a little notch and kind of hot melt the thing in before you tile over it. So, everything came together here. I think we are ready for inspection. I'm going to add those 3 lights and the breaker after scheduling it because the inspector is very busy and takes a while to get around. So, wish us luck, folks. I am about to go inside and put our thing in the system, then come out here, clean like a madman, and hope we pass. See you in the next round.